Welcome to the Dad Show. Dad Sports Life. Let's go.
Today on the Dadger, we're joined by Joseph White, a former Wisconsin Badger track and field standout and school record holder. We'll be talking about work, discipline, and mindset that went into competing at the highest level and how those lessons continue to shape his life beyond the track. Thanks for joining us, Joseph.
Thanks for having me.
So, doing a little research, couldn't find much about you. So, some of the questions might be educated guesses. Born and raised in Kenosha, correct?
Yep.
Can you tell us a little bit about that upbringing in Kenosha?
It was a pretty chill upbringing, I'd say, because for those of people who know Kenosha, they know it's like a very small town and not too much going on, but I enjoyed it. It was a nice community. Everything is pretty much right where you need it to be. Like nothing is too far away or anything like that. But yeah, it was a good upbringing, I'd say.
Do you have any siblings?
I do, yeah. I have a brother and I have a sister, and I'm the youngest.
The youngest. What was that? Well, how much older are they than you?
My brother just turned 30, and my sister is 26.
Maybe I don't want to know the answer to this question. How old are you?
I'm 23.
23. Okay, so your sister would have been going through like high school when you were going through high school?
Yeah, she was always finishing up as I was getting started. So
yeah. Were your siblings athletic as well?
No, my sister she did a little bit of athletics, but nothing that really lasted too long. Like she was involved with track a little bit and stuff like that. But
sure,
yeah, my brother, no, he wasn't really involved in athletics.
So I guess what age did you start playing sports then?
It started at a very young age. I can't really put an exact number on it. Probably like elementary school. It was basketball though. I was playing basketball a lot, like going to different camps and stuff like that, doing like small tournaments. Nothing like noteworthy. Like I don't think I was in like the AAU or anything like that or those tournaments, sure, but just like small little clubs and stuff like that.
Well, since the two siblings ahead of you weren't like, super into athletics, were your parents, how were your parents with you with sports? Were they hands-on or kind of let you choose and pick what you did and where you wanted to go there?
They were pretty much let me choose, but one of the choices I couldn't make was football. Okay. My mom was not a big fan of that sport. She really wanted me to like just protect my brain and protect my body and everything like that. So I played that for 1 year in 8th grade, and that was it. Okay. After that, we kind of cut that off. But they were super supportive with whatever decision I made, like whether it was basketball or track, or I did cross country for a little bit. They were just supportive, and like my dad would be out there helping me practice basketball, and just like supplying me with any like resources I need and everything like that. So, yeah.
Yeah. Did your dad coach you anything as a kid growing up? Like outside?
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. So he would help me out with like basketball, especially and stuff. Yeah.
Back to football. Do you ever look back at it? Like, I mean, your recruiting profile says you're 6'3" and 220 pounds. Like, were you ever like, if mom would have just let me try football, man, I got the build for it.
Yeah, definitely. I think I could have found some success in that for sure, but I definitely see the vision, and I'm glad that I didn't get any like life sustaining injuries or like any bad brain injuries or anything like that. So yeah.
Was there something significant that happened that your mom didn't want you to, or she just saw, everybody in the NFL getting hurt and CTE stuff coming out, or?
Yeah, she just saw all that stuff, and I think that there was that one CTE movie that came out around that time. It was like Concussion or something like that.
Yeah.
We watched that, but funny enough, that 1 year I did play, I got a pretty bad ankle sprain at the end of the year. It was nothing like too bad, but I was like in a boot crutches for a while, so maybe that kind of did it, kind of like
It was
proved
a
what
perfect
she was
storm,
worried
yeah.
about. Yeah.
So I read you didn't start doing track till your sophomore year of high school.
Yeah,
Did you have a favorite sport prior to that?
definitely basketball. If I could be doing any other sport like throughout college, it would have been basketball. If I was like good enough to continue that, yeah, that sport's just a lot of fun to watch and a lot of fun to play.
Were you? I guess did you play all 4 years through high school
No,
of basketball?
I stopped either the end of my junior year or yeah, it had to be the end of junior year. Either end of junior year or like beginning of senior year. I just didn't see a future for myself in it. So I just decided to make the decision to kind of just like put everything into track and just see where I could take that.
I mean, you got the build for basketball too. I'm just saying. Were you always kind of a bigger kid growing up, or did you hit a growth spurt? And like, if you did, so like for example, going through high school, I grew like 8 inches. I'm 6'4" now, but I grew like 8 inches in between my freshman and sophomore year. And so I was like
Mhm.
super uncoordinated until I was like a senior, and even senior year, I wasn't like super coordinated. So
I
did you
see.
guys?
Yeah.
Were you always taller, or did you like hit a growth spurt? And how did that affect your coordination?
I I was pretty much always taller. Like throughout my classes, I was always like one of the, I guess, top five tallest people in my grade class and stuff like that. But it was nothing like where one year I just sprouted up. I think it was just like a continuous natural growth, which was good. So I didn't really go through too many awkward phases. Yeah.
Damn, must be nice. No.
Yeah.
uh, I mean, I guess since basketball was your first love, was there at any point, like in high school, were you like initially hoping to get recruited in that, or
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah?
I definitely wanted to go to college for it, but I just had to be real with myself, and it wasn't gonna happen, unfortunately. Yeah.
So I guess what made you try track your sophomore year?
Uh, I just I was involved in it my freshman year as well, but it was more on the running side. So I was during that time I was trying to be I was trying to be a sprinter,
Mm-hmm.
and I got some like injuries towards the end of that year. It was just like my ankles would bother me a lot, but I don't have that issue anymore. But anyway, so after that, after that, after trying like sprinting and different sprinting events and stuff like that, and not being necessarily the fastest person on the track team, uh, the throws coach and the head like track and field coach just kind of recommended that I go try throwing because I did have like the longer limbs and everything like that, and kind of had more of a, I guess, natural build for throwing a little bit. So middle of my sophomore year, towards the end, we just went ahead and gave that a try, and it clicked. And yeah,
It's funny you said you tried a little bit of cross country. So you did a little bit of cross country. You did
yeah.
sprints. You did throws. Is there anything you haven't tried or can't do?
I always wanted to try volleyball, but yeah, that looks like a
I
lot
mean,
of
you got
fun
to
too.
build for volleyball too. Pretty much, if you're tall, you got to build for a lot of sports.
Pretty much.
Not like a jockey or horse racing or anything, but actual
Nah.
sports. So no.
Yeah.
uh, when you joined it, I guess you first started throwing. Was it tough for you to get the technique down when you first started throwing?
It was tough. Like I had a decent stand throw, so I know for most of those first couple meets my sophomore year, it was like towards the end. So like there was not. I started like towards the end of the sophomore year, so there was not a lot of room for like development necessarily. But I a lot of those meets for discus, I would just go in the ring, do a stand throw, and then that was it. But just there was definitely a learning curve, and especially in high school, I don't think I understood how bad I was necessarily with the technique, because it was just like all new to me. Like during that time, I wasn't watching professional throwers or like anything like that, or like seeing how it's actually supposed to be done. But yeah, so there's definitely a bit of a learning curve with the technique.
I mean, I guess towards the end of your high school career, did you ever make it to state
No,
in
I
high
didn't.
school? So
No.
I guess I assume you got better as junior and senior year progressed.
Mm.
I guess was the want to compete in track and field past high school just like a feeling of knowing you had some traction, you're good, but maybe got a little bit of a late start and just wanting to see how far you could go with just throwing past high school?
Yeah, it was definitely a little bit of that, and also I just also wanted to just pretty much in general stay active. Like at first, I wanted to like do basketball in college, so I just knew I wanted to be active and like be involved in some sort of support and some sort of community like that in college. So I just went ahead and tried to continue with track and field and see how far I could take throwing.
Was there any like specific moment that you can point to in high school where you fell in love with throwing, or maybe thought to yourself like, I definitely have some momentum and can do this collegiately?
No, like major, I guess, moments that stand out like that. Um, I definitely was one of the top throwers at my high school that I was at. So I think that kind of helped build some momentum and build some confidence in myself. But the love for the sport really blossomed like in college. Like that's when I actually fell in love with the sport. Like in high school, it was a lot of fun, but it still kind of felt like something I was just kind of doing in a sense. In a sense, like I really enjoyed it, but I don't think I loved it yet until I got to college.
Yeah, I mean, you talked a little bit about the choice to play to do it collegiately was kind of to stay active, right?
Mm.
Was there any sort of recruitment process or anything like that, or I guess uh, how did that all play out?
My high school had a meet at Carthage College. I can't remember like what the meet was or anything like that, but at that meet, I remember talking to some coach and like they gave me like, some recruitment form, or in a sense like using that term loosely because like they can't really, I guess, give out scholarships or anything like that because like it's
Right.
a D3 school. So,
Yeah.
but like that's when I kind of got on my radar at that moment, and then from there I just kind of looked into it a little bit more, and then I went into some like visits to Carthage and stuff like that, and that's when I kind of made the decision to try to get into that school and continue sports at that school.
Um, I guess was there any other options for you, or was Carthage always for you initially?
It was Carthage was always like kind of my top choice in a sense. There was some other small options like I think Parkside was one. There's a
Sure.
couple other one like Saint Norbert, just like stuff like that. But no, I guess necessarily notable or bigger offers in a sense. And yeah, Carthage was one of the schools that I was interested in most for the educational purposes as well, like the nursing program and stuff like that. So that
Yeah.
kind of just made the most sense to me that that's where I would want to be at.
Yeah. I guess the nursing program and another reasoning that kind of helped that being close to home at Carthage as well.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. It's right on the lake too. It's like 5 minutes away from my parents' house, so
Okay.
it was a good decision there. I got to save some money on like room and board and stuff like that, so it made a lot of sense. It is a beautiful campus too, though.
So with it being in your hometown, was it tough? The first year, a couple years to kind of really focus in on track with like having your high school buddies like still there, you know what I mean? Cause like my first year of college, it was like, these high school buddies come around and it's just, it's chaos. Was it like that for you or not really?
Not really. I didn't make like that many close friends throughout high school. Like I did have like my
Okay.
friend group and stuff like that, but most of them went to like different colleges outside of the state and everything like that. So I guess it was pretty easy to focus in on Carthage in that aspect. And a lot of my closer friendships were built at Carthage and everything like that. So I think it was easier for me to kind of just focus on Carthage in that sense.
Did you have any tough transitions going from high school to college inside or outside of sports?
Yeah, we didn't lift a lot at my high school. Like as far as throws go, like that our group just did not spend a lot of time in the weight room at all. So that there was that learning curve, just learning how to lift and just learning how to push myself in the weight room and everything like that, and learning the mechanics of all the lifts and stuff like that. That was a pretty big learning curve for me. And just the workload of the nursing program, it's definitely a hard program to get through. And my first year was COVID and everything like that, so that was like a whole different
Oh,
dynamic
yeah.
of yeah online classes and just different stuff like that. So it was a challenge for sure.
I had Jason Swearens on here. He kind of explained how he went from basic technique for shot put, kind of a standing technique. It sounds like you did something similar with discus when you first started out. So I know the answer to this, but did you also have to switch techniques from high school to college like he did?
Yeah, well, no. So toward, towards the beginning of my high school career with like throws and everything like that, I was doing like the basics. I did transition to fully rotational for disc, and
Okay.
but during like the beginning half, I was a glider, and then towards the later time, I was able to transition to rotating for shot as well. So I did get that early experience with being rotational in the shot and disc. So
So I was looking at your finishes your first year. It looked like you had a lot of top 10 finishes, but compared to the rest of your career at Carthage, not a ton of first place. Was that tough, or did you go in with the mindset you might not be the best that first year? Maybe that first year was just all about growth for you?
yeah, I'd say that year was definitely a lot about growth for me and just I guess understanding the sport a lot better because like I had no idea what TFers was. I had like a lot of stuff that might be like common to other like throwers and other like track athletes. It wasn't common to me yet, so it was just about like learning the landscape of like collegiate athletics and like collegiate track and field. So um, there was a lot of just things I had to figure out along the way, and along the way, I just fell in love with it more and more.
So you come in your sophomore year with a bang, a ton of first place finishes. Was there something you can specifically cite to start to the start of that success? You know what I mean? Was it
I
what?
had a
Oh,
go
go
for it.
ahead. Sorry.
I had a great support system with my coach and my family and my and the friends that I made along the way. That was a major contribution. But another thing was definitely just the time that I spent in the weight room because, again, I just wasn't lifting in high school. So just that newfound found strength by spending time and like getting in the weight room, getting some more food in, getting better nutrition, that definitely helped propel me and like gave me a solid foundation.
I noticed there were a lot of those first places your sophomore. You were coming from shot put. Was shot what you felt your strength was of all the throws, and I guess was that your favorite to do?
It was definitely a strength of mine, but starting off, my favorite was disc for sure. But that one was kind of a little bit more shaky with my start. Like the consistency was not there at all for disc starting off. Like I did have a couple far throws, but I had a lot more not far throws with that event starting off. But yeah, shot was a lot of fun to compete in, and yeah, it was definitely one of my favorites.
So some meets I mean maybe this is a dumb question. I saw you only did shot put and weight throw, for example. I mean, I guess, can you remember if there was a reason for only doing like 2 out of the 3 events during some of those meets?
Uh, I think those were just like indoor versus outdoor meets, like shot and
Okay,
weight. Like those are just indoors, and then there's an
sure.
outdoor shot, then discus and hammer, which is just like an outdoor version of the weight throw. Yeah,
Did you have a preference between indoor and outdoor meets?
outdoor meets were a lot more fun, and when the weather was nice,
Yeah.
and you got to yeah, living in the Midwest, we definitely had a lot of we had some bad weather meets, like some meets where it would just completely be snowing, and we had to shut it down because of how much snow. But anyway, you get to see stuff go farther outdoors too. So I think I prefer outdoor meets when the weather's nice.
When the weather cooperates, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I think so. If I read it right, I think your first ever first place finish in nationals was the 22 season in shot put. Does that sound right?
yeah, yeah.
What did getting that first championship under your belt feel like?
It felt amazing. It was one of those competitions where I got the throw. I got that the farthest throw on my last throw. So it was
Oh
a
yeah,
special moment to me, one that definitely just will stick with me forever. It definitely fueled the passion and fueled my drive for the sport a lot more. Like it was more of a, I guess, confirmation of I could really be good at this if I continue to like dedicate myself and just put in the time to be good.
yeah. I was actually going to ask, did that feeling fuel you like to like really push this to the next level?
100%. Yeah, that's yeah. I really tried to really put in a lot of time and a lot of effort and practice during the off season and everything like that, and just find all the little ways I could to try to be better in my sport.
So the domination continues for 3 years at Carthage, and then you make the move to Wisconsin. Can you walk us through how that whole process kind of happened and what it looked like?
Yeah, so I decided to make the transition to Wisconsin because I just wanted a bigger challenge in a sense. Like, not that Division 3 wasn't a challenge. Like, I'm not saying that at all. It was just like I just wanted something more to like push myself, like a training group around me of guys that were like stronger than me and better than me in the events and stuff like that, and just an environment where every meet that I went to, like I would have to perform to like make a final. Like I would have to do really good. I just wanted that extra challenge and that extra, like, I guess, external pressure to motivate myself to do better. And I thought that I could rise to the occasion and like that in that new environment, and I was able to. But I I definitely didn't leave Carthage for like any bad reasons necessarily. Like I
Yeah.
had a great experience through there, but I just was looking for a kind of a new challenge in a sense.
Was there any shell shock with the competition jump? Like you said, not saying anything bad about, D3 or anything like that, but um, I assume the competition was, way tighter in terms of, you can't mess up. You got to get X amount on every throw and stuff like that. Every scratch matters probably a lot more for that stuff. I mean, did you feel that going to D1, that transition from D3 competition to D1 competition?
Yeah, funny enough, I felt it the most during like the fall training and like during kind of the off season period, because we had a couple of mock meets during that time, and I think that's when I first got to like kind of experience a little bit of nerves around like competing on like the Division 1 level. Like it felt like a moment where I was trying to like prove myself to like my teammates and prove myself to myself and my coach and everything like that. So like during those mock meets, I had like some nerves going into that, and that kind of prepared me, and I was more able to mentally prepare myself for the meets going forward. But it was still definitely a whole new experience, a whole new environment. Like every meet felt like it mattered in a sense. Like the
Yeah.
you have to be ready to show up and you have to be ready to compete and you have to be able to throw one of your best throws in the first three throws. Like you can't have like a bad prelims and still slip in and then find a throw later in like round 5 or 6. Like
Right.
you have to be ready to show up and compete.
Along with those nerves and, maybe not having the mindset right going into it, it can really kind of shake even the best confidence. Did you ever have a moment where maybe your confidence was shaken going when you were throwing at Wisconsin?
I'd say definitely more so in the weight. Like that one kind of took a little bit longer than the other events to start to connect and start to feel like the far throws come. Like uh, I was kind of like, I guess, I don't want to say worried, but a little bit of doubt definitely started to creep in. Like, am I going to be able to throw this as far as I thought and know I could? So the nerves, I guess, and doubt came in around there in my performance. But later in the season for indoor, I really started to connect with the weight and start to throw the distances that I knew that I was capable of.
For you overall, how was the transition from Kenosha to Madison, the city?
It was a pretty big transition. Like that campus is massive and everything like that, and it's a much busier area obviously than Kenosha, but
Yeah.
the parking, that was something that I had to get used to. Like there's not a lot of parking options down there, so I I got a e-bike, electric bike, and that's the way I started to get around. And then I had no problems with like navigating the city and everything like that. But there's definitely a little bit of there's stuff I had to get used to for sure with the transition to Kenosha to Madison.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even the campus size is probably
Oh yeah.
yeah, that's probably tough. Anyway, you had a break in the school record that season. How many times did you break it?
That meet, I think I broke it maybe twice, and
Okay.
then I broke it again at a later meet, like later in the summer. Yeah, so
Yeah.
technically, I think like 3 times. Yeah.
Once you broke it the first time, did you think about it when you were throwing any time past that, or was the focus always just trying to get first and knowing the distance that you needed to get that first place?
Going into the season, my biggest goals for myself was to throw 20 meters in shot and to get the school record in discus, and that was kind of what was driving a lot of my training and a lot of my intention to get better. And funny enough, both of those goals were accomplished in the same meet. I threw 20 meters in shot. It was like 20:33, and then later I proceeded to break the school record in disc at the same Wisconsin home meet. So that was amazing. But um, I approach every meet with just trying to throw as far as I can. I like that perspective more because if I just like put a number out there, I think that kind of limits myself in a sense. Like it's good to have goals and everything like that, but when it comes to a meet, I just want to throw as far as I can. I don't want to get caught up in the numbers of like, okay, I have to get this, because then you're kind of like analyzing every throw and like,
Yeah.
did it go over that line? Or I think it makes you focus on the wrong things. I think if you want to throw far, you got to focus on doing the right things in the ring. So when I go to a meet, I'm focused on execution, not like distance. Because if I execute right, it's gonna go far.
Are you superstitious at all?
No, not really. No.
I was gonna say that you mean met your goal in two goals in one meet. Whatever you were doing, you gotta do that before every meet now if you're superstitious.
Yeah, for real. I should have took some notes and put that together.
I mean, I guess kind of in that same vein, before big meets or big throws, do you have any pre throw or pre meet rituals to kind of get you in the right mindset?
Nothing too special. Like it's just like the basics, listening to music and everything like that. Do a little bit of visualization. I go back and I look at my far throws and my throws where I have that good technique and like everything's looking nice, and I just try to visualize that in my head. And I do like a lot of grounding techniques, like just breathing and just like
Yeah.
imagining myself in that moment, so I can just like better prepare myself for meet day.
You got a go-to song that gets you going?
No, I feel like it changes like from year to year, sometimes day to day. But I listen to a lot of J. Cole, and that always
Okay.
gets me hyped
Yeah.
and ready to compete.
So I typically do this kind of segment with athletes, um, where I give them three options of people that they've played with, but track and field is kind of a more of an individualized sport. So I'm going to switch it up a little bit with you.
Mm-hmm.
Between shot, discus, and hammer throw, you have to start, sit, and redshirt one of them. Which event would you start? Which would you sit? And which would you redshirt, and why? Just for yourself.
That's true. Okay, I would start disc because it's my favorite event. I would sit shot because it's my second favorite event. So far, basic answers.
Yeah.
But, I would redshirt weight throw because I was able to throw far in it. Even though I do prefer hammer over the weight throw, I just wasn't able to find those far throws and weight. But yeah, and hammer.
Did you do weight and hammer in Carthage? Did you start that in Carthage?
Yeah, so at Carthage, I did every throwing event besides javelin, and then when we got to Wisconsin, I just tapered down a little bit, and we took off hammer because I was just not going to be competitive enough, like in the new environment. Like my marks were just not there.
Yeah, well, I guess I don't know much about weight and hammer throw, but was it tough kind of learning how to do those in such a truncated time? Because like shot and discus, you had majority of your high school, then you had a couple years at Carthage, and then obviously by the time you got to Wisconsin, it was completely fine tuned, right? So was it tough with hammer and weight in that regard, where it was kind of a shorter span that you had to figure that whole process out?
I don't know if that's necessarily the case. Like I think just depending on the athlete, things just click faster
Sure.
for some, and things click slower for others. And I think hammer was just an event that required a lot more of my time to kind of get better at and perfect. And things just didn't fully click in time enough, so we just had to drop that off and focus on the things where things were just like clicking faster, and I was seeing faster improvements in.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite stadium you've competed in?
Texas A&M, they have some really nice stadiums. I like to compete in there, but Oregon too. Competing at that facility was amazing.
I mean, it should be. That's where Big Ten champ outdoor is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've put some money into that thing.
Oh yeah.
Did doing so well your senior in the Big Ten meet as well as national meet give you the idea of once again seeing how far you could go with this past college?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely did better. I don't want to say better than I expected, because like I always have like high goals for myself in a sense before the season starts. But just seeing that things were clicking, I guess, on a more consistent basis. Like I was finding those deeper throws, like in a lot of meets, and just seeing me be able to show up on the day of like indoor Big Tens and do what I need to do to throw far, and outdoor Big Tens too with discus. Like just showing up at those big meets definitely motivated me and gave me more confidence to believe that I could take it even farther.
So you just graduated last year, correct?
Yep.
What has the first year out of college looked like for you?
It's been busy. I've been working as a full-time registered nurse, and I've been training at Carthage mainly, but I'm still being coached by Dave at Wisconsin-Madison,
Yep.
but I'm living in Kenosha. So
Okay.
that facility at Carthage is just very convenient. They have pretty much everything I need over there. So I'm training there. And sometimes I stick around and I do a little bit of volunteer coaching, and I help out the athletes at Carthage. So a lot going on.
You got a full plate.
Yeah.
Have you done any I guess international competitions yet?
No, not yet. But hopefully
Okay.
that happens farther down the line. I think I definitely want to take this season to kind of figure out traveling alone, competing alone, and everything like that within the States, and just get a really good feel for that. And if I start to throw it far enough and get invited to those bigger international meets, I'm excited for that too, and I'll be ready for that journey.
How have the national meets been going so far, if you don't mind me asking?
And in what sense, like with competing
I mean,
post-collegiate? Sorry.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So I competed in USA Outdoor Nationals at the end of last summer, and I got 8th. So I made that final. That was very exciting. That was my best day in disc. I want to say 4 throws over 60, which was a great series for me. So things started off well. That was my last competition in a long time. Being an outdoor athlete, and it's been a while since I've been in a competition, but things are starting to get going pretty soon here. Towards end of March, early April, I'll start competing in some meets again.
I was gonna say you got some stuff on the calendar for once it gets warmer here.
Yeah. I'll be at Ramona a couple of times, so I'm excited for that. That's a meet where a lot of big things happen. So yeah, hopefully I can go out there and be a part of that experience and find some far throws too.
What is the end goal, and how do you get there?
Right now, I want to say my main goal is just to keep throwing farther. I know that's kind of like a basic goal, but at this point, I just want to see how far I can take this sport, and whatever that may look like, I just know it's going to require me to continue to throw far, continue to throw farther, perfect my technique and everything like that, and just push myself. And whatever opportunity arises, just show up and try to prove myself as a good athlete.
Do you have to qualify to compete internationally?
From my understanding, it's more so of like a invite thing. So like the international meets tend to be like kind of, I guess, bigger meets, and if you get your name out there on the global scale by like throwing far enough, then they'll start to see you and like give you an invitation to come compete at those meets.
Sure. Yeah, I didn't know if there was like a specific meet that they had that you have to qualify for it, or if it's just they look at your broad work over the year and how far you're throwing it. So, switching gears a little bit here, you post some videos on your throwing page of you pushing some like big weight on various lifts. What does a training regimen look like today?
Right now, I'm training twice a week, so just Monday and Thursday for lifts, twice a week, and then I throw Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then I have the weekend off. So I think that might change a little bit as we get closer to competition season, but that's how my off season has been structured, and it's been going well.
In that same vein, I've seen the weightlifting post, but I've also seen you working a lot on your technique post. At this point, are you really trying to hone in on fine tuning your technique, or is it more about generating more power for you right now?
Definitely trying to fine tune that technique and just getting a more consistent rhythm in the ring and everything like that. Because as far as strength goes, I don't think that's what's stopping me from improving right now. Like, I could always be stronger. Yes, there's like a ton of guys who are stronger than me, but for me personally, I think my shortcomings and what's stopping me from throwing as far as I can right now is just like my technique, and I gotta hone in and like clean up some stuff in the ring, and then I will see the disc fly a little bit farther.
We talked about you talked about your goals and just throwing farther. Is there a specific distance that you're looking to get with that goal, or is it just that broad of a sense just to throw farther?
I think it's just that broad of a sense. Like I definitely have some big goals in my head, but I'm not ready to like, I guess, put that out there yet. Cause
all right. That's fine.
Yeah. But I definitely saw a lot of improvements last year from just like, I guess, reducing the amount of events I threw. Like I improved it in about 4 meters in discus. So I just focusing on disc now. I feel like there's a lot more left in the tank, and yeah, I'm excited to see what I do.
Hey, like I said the first time we tried this, when you make the Olympic team, I gotta be the first podcast you do.
That is definitely one of the bigger goals, but I decided that I'm not ready to put that out
there. So, is there something specific throws has taught you through the years that you have noticed post college that it's helped you with so far?
Yeah, just how to continue to show up and just like be consistent. Because for me personally, like not every day in training or anything like that, not every day is going to be a perfect, amazing day. But I love throwing so much that like even if I have like say a week where I'm just doing awful, for some reason I just continue to show up and I continue to put my all in every day that I show up. Like it just taught me what dedication looks like, what dedication feels like, and what it means and looks like to show up no matter what, and just continue to put in the work. And also just kind of how to handle more high pressure situations. Like it's funny, like even in my job, when I find myself like in a stressful situation, I really do feel like being exposed to high pressure meets stressful situation like nationals and stuff like that help me to have more of a level head and help me to better manage that stress and handle those situations better in the workplace and other areas as well.
I talked a little bit about it earlier. I mean, track and field does have, the team scoring. It does have a team aspect to it. But, it is you just, especially in like throws and a lot of the other events, it's literally just you competing against these other people, right? So how do you think that shaped, especially now, how do you think that shaped your self-discipline and holding yourself accountable to get these workouts in when you don't have the energy or don't, had a bad day? How do you find that drive?
I really think it just comes from loving the sport and just loving what I do in the sport, because thankfully I'm off of the shift now, but for a majority of my time post collegiate, I was working a 12-hour night shift, so I was working 7 p.m. to 7:30 a.m. and I was doing that 3 days a week. It was just like random days throughout the week. Like I did not have a consistent schedule whatsoever. Like, I felt like a zombie most days, but for some reason I just continue to show up in the weight room, continue to get the practices in the ring as well. So just, I think you have to really love what you do. At least it makes it a lot easier to continue to show up and just have that passion and just continue to show up for yourself and just push yourself no matter what.
You talked a little bit about it. You're still training even post collegiately with Coach Dave Ostrowskis. He seems like an absolute player's coach, because I was actually trying to get him on my podcast. He politely declined and said it should always be about the athletes, which I think is awesome. So if you could, let's try to give Coach his flowers here. How has he influenced and helped you both inside and outside of the throwing ring?
He's influenced me quite a bit. Like I think even starting off my career at Wisconsin, he was always really honest with me of like, I guess his expectations and kind of what it would take. Like we would have conversations of like, hey, what do you think it will take to make this meet? And he's not a guy who will sugarcoat stuff. Like he's very honest with me and all of his athletes from my experience. And I've grown to really appreciate his honesty and everything like that. And he definitely has a really good understanding of the throws and discus as well. Like obviously he's put in his years, but I enjoy the way he coaches and talks about the throws. And I he knows how to put his family first too as well, and that's something that I admire about him. But he also treats his athletes as like his second family. So like he always looks out for us and makes sure that we're okay, like inside and outside of the sport. So yeah.
If you could define your throwing career so far in one lesson, what would it be?
I would say growth. I think I have grown a lot as a person and an athlete in so many ways, from learning about all the intricacies of like collegiate sports from freshman year, learning how to lift properly and stuff like that, and just it's just been a process of continual growth and continual improvement and improving myself and growing with the sport. Yeah.
All right, this has been awesome. Thank you for joining me again. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I always end it with final two questions. So first one being, if you could go back to yourself at 18 and give yourself one piece of advice, what would you give yourself?
I would tell myself to just trust in myself and just invest in myself in the way that I learned to through track and field, because it's when you invest in yourself, like amazing things can happen. And when you continue to show up for yourself every day and just put in the time to improve yourself and chase your goals, amazing things can happen.
I know indoors kind of wrapping up here, but outdoors right around the corner. How do you think the Badgers are going to do in track this year?
I think they'll do well. It's a bit of a newer team on the throw side. They lost a lot of people, but I think they definitely still have the potential to do some great things. And I'm excited to see how they progress through the outdoor season.
Additional question, I guess.
Yeah.
For collegiately, do a lot of the athletes kind of stick to their groups a little bit? You know what I mean? Because like high school, it's relatively small enough where you're like intermingling with everybody. Is it kind of different in college?
I think it just depends on the school, depends on the group.
Sure.
Athletes definitely have relationships. Like they communicate and become friends with other groups, and I definitely made some friends in other event groups. But I always find like the closest bonds within that thrower squad, because they're the guys and the women that like I'm spending the most time with and getting to know the best.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, I was just curious about that. But
no, that's
that's going to do it for this episode of the Dadger. Right. Huge thanks to Joseph White for sharing his story, his perspective, and the lessons he learned from competing at the highest level at Wisconsin. If you enjoyed the conversation, make sure to like, subscribe, and let us know who you'd like to hear from next. As always, on Wisconsin, thank you, Joseph.
Thank you for having me.